This is Wizard Grandpa's Stories.
Oh, hello there. How nice to see you. Welcome to Wizard Grandpa's Stories. Today, I'd like to tell you the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Now, once upon a time, there lived a girl who was so sweet she was loved by everyone who knew her. And her grandmother had made her a beautiful cape with a hood, bright red in colour. And because she wore it all the time, everybody called her Little Red Riding Hood. She lived in the forest with her mother in a beautiful cottage. And one day they were busy baking in the kitchen. When they'd finished baking and everything was ready, Little Red Riding Hood's mother said to her, "Now, Little Red Riding Hood, put these good things into the basket." And Little Red Riding Hood's mother put the juice, the cake, and the bread that they'd made together into a little basket. And Little Red Riding Hood picked up the basket, and her mother said to her, "Now, take these good things to Grandmother's house. She will love to have them. Follow the path straight through the woods and don't leave it, and you'll soon be there." Little Red Riding Hood set off. It was a beautiful summer's day. The sun was shining, and the sky was blue, and the birds were singing sweetly. She walked on for a while, and suddenly she met a wolf. "Hello, Mr. Wolf," she said sweetly. "Hello, little girl," said the wolf, not so sweetly. "What are you doing here in the woods, all alone?" "Oh, I'm going to Grandmother's house. I'm taking her some lovely things that Mother and I have made today. They will make her feel better." "I'm sure they will, little girl," said the wolf. "Where does your grandmother live?" "Oh, she lives in the cottage on the other side of the woods, beside the 3 oak trees." "Oh, yes," said the wolf. "I know the 3 oak trees." Now this wolf was a wicked wolf. And he thought to himself, this little girl would make a nice meal for me. But it would be good to eat her grandmother too. I will have them both today. So the wolf said to Little Red Riding Hood, "Can I walk with you for some of the way, little girl?" "Oh, yes, Mr. Wolf, that would be nice." Together they walked along the path, chatting, talking together, having a pleasant time. Meanwhile, the wolf was thinking very carefully what he was going to do next. And then he said to Little Red Riding Hood, "Now then, little girl, you seem a little bit sad to me. You know, if you look around you at the forest, everything is beautiful. There are flowers everywhere. Look and see how nice they are." And she looked around at the flowers, and indeed, they were beautiful. And she had a thought. She said, "Oh, Mr. Wolf, I could pick a bunch of flowers and take them to my grandmother. She would love to have them." "Yes, indeed, little girl," said the wolf. "That sounds like a good idea." And then he carried on walking, while Little Red Riding Hood stayed behind, picking the flowers. Of course, he was going on ahead, and indeed he arrived at Grandmother's house in no time at all. And there he was faced with a problem: how to get into Grandmother's house. He had an idea. What if I try to pretend that I am Little Red Riding Hood? Grandma will never believe this is Little Red Riding Hood's voice. I must talk a bit higher. he knocked on the door. Bang, bang, bang. And Grandmother's voice came out of the upstairs window. "Who's there?" The wolf called out, "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood." "That doesn't sound like Little Red Riding Hood," came Grandma's voice. "Oh, it is me, Grandmother," said the wolf. I have a cold, and my voice is all strange." "Very well, Little Red Riding Hood," came Grandmother's voice out of the upstairs window. "Come on in. The door isn't locked." The wolf rolled his eyes. He could have just walked in. So he lifted the latch, went inside, crept upstairs to Grandmother's bedroom, and gobbled her up. Then he put on her clothes and climbed into bed in her place. Not long afterwards, Little Red Riding Hood arrived at the house with a beautiful bunch of flowers. She opened the door and stepped inside. The house was very quiet, but that wasn't unusual. Sometimes Grandmother took a nap in the afternoon. So Little Red Riding Hood crept quietly up the stairs to Grandmother's bedroom, where she was sure she was sleeping. She stepped into Grandmother's room and tiptoed up to the bed and saw in the bed Grandmother. Or was it? She looked a little bit strange. Little Red Riding Hood said, "Hello, Grandmother. You don't quite look yourself today. What big ears you've got." And the wolf replied, "All the better to hear you with, my dear." "Oh," said Little Red Riding Hood. "Grandmother, what big eyes you've got." "All the better to see you with, my dear." And then Little Red Riding Hood said, "Grandmother, what big teeth you've got." "All the better to eat you with, my dear," said the wolf, and he leapt out of bed and gobbled up Little Red Riding Hood. Well, the wolf was very full. He'd eaten Little Red Riding Hood and Grandmother in a short time, and his tummy was bursting. He lay back on Grandmother's bed and fell asleep. And as he slept, he snored. Now you can imagine what kind of noise a wolf makes when he snores. And on it went. The wolf was snoring so loudly, the whole house was shaking. Now, it just so happened that at that moment, walking through the woods was the huntsman. And he'd been looking for that wolf for quite some time, trying to catch him. And as he walked past Grandmother's house, he heard that terrible snoring sound the wolf was making. And he was worried. He didn't know it was the wolf, but this was a strange noise to be coming from Grandmother's house. So he let himself into the house, went up the stairs, and yes, he saw the wolf on Grandmother's bed. Well, he was furious, wouldn't you be? What a terrible thing. He took out his great big knife and cut a long hole in the wolf's tummy. And out came Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Oh, thank you, Mr. Huntsman, thank you. Shh, said the huntsman, be quiet. He quickly fetched some big stones from outside, huge great rocks, put them inside the wolf's tummy, and in no time at all had sewn up the hole. So the wolf was lying there, the huge, full tummy full of stones. Shh, said the huntsman, stand back. So the huntsman, Little Red Riding Hood, and grandmother stepped back, and the wolf woke up. Oh, he said. Oh, I'm so full. Oh. He got out of bed, staggered to the door, and with his tummy full of heavy, heavy stones, he fell down the stairs. Crash. And at the bottom of the stairs, he lay there, dead. The huntsman quickly ran down and took the wolf outside. And there he skinned him and took his coat, for it would make a beautiful coat for a huntsman. Then he waved goodbye to Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother. Oh, thank you, huntsman. Thank you for saving us, they both said. And then, finally, as the day was drawing to a close, Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother could enjoy the beautiful food that Little Red Riding Hood had brought with her. They sat in grandmother's kitchen, drinking the juice, eating the bread and the cake, and having a lovely time together. And Little Red Riding Hood said to grandmother, You know, grandmother, I will never again leave the path when my mother has forbidden me to do so. And that, dear children, is the story of Little Red Riding Hood. I hope you liked it. And if you did, don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and share. And come back tomorrow for another story, and bring all your friends with you. Until then, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.